This is the name of the show. Okay, good. Welcome to TLDC. TLDC. Training, learning, development, track. How coming like you know where it's at? It's training, learning, development, track. Video Friday, Video Friday. And you know what that means. TLDC, TLDC, Good morning, everybody. Welcome to TLDChat. It's Friday, and that means it's Video Friday. Yes, that's right. We love it. And today is going to be an exceptional day if we can get the bandwidth and everything worked out from San Jose, where our good friend of TLDChat and the TLDC community, Marco Faccini, is hanging out at the Realities 360 event. And he, hopefully, keeping our fingers crossed that he is going to join us live from the event. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll have another VR Friday instead of Video Friday. But while we're waiting for Marco to join, there's all the regular stuff, but there's also a bit of mourning. We lost Flash this week, officially, from Adobe, and that's probably something we should talk about. So that might be our backup today if we can't get Marco on, or if there's some bandwidth issues or anything like that, because I know I used Flash for a lot of video stuff, and there was a lot of interesting things that could be done with Flash regarding video. And so it is appropriate, I think, that towards the end of the week that we have that conversation. I think it's appropriate for Video Friday as well. So keep that in mind. There's a lot of stuff. If you have not heard about the news about Flash, not that it's really news because everybody has known and dead for quite some time, but now it's just official. So go ahead and Google it if you want to, and we can have that conversation. Just like we have conversations every day at 8 o'clock, 8 a.m. Pacific time, 11 a.m. Eastern time, and 4 p.m. UK time on TLDChat. We are also the TLDC community and conference. The conference is also coming up in January 29th and 30th. In beautiful sunny Phoenix, Arizona. Might not be too sunny right now. We've got monsoon storms rolling in the summertime storms that we get, which are just lovely, produce fantastic lightning shows for those of us that, the few of us who live here in the summertime. Most people bail out because it gets too hot for them, but it is a fantastic time to be here if you can handle the heat. It's an even better time to be here in January when we are having the event at Galvanize in downtown Phoenix. It's going to be fantastic. So we're looking forward to having all of you there in 184 days. Today is Video Friday and TLDChat, and there is a little bit of news that we can probably talk about. If I can just get my screens put together correctly. But I don't often have news, but the Flash not being supported anymore by Adobe is one big news story. The other one is MS Paint going away. 32 years of Microsoft Paint. Yeah, that's definitely too long. I remember doing screen captures for software simulations in authorware back in the early 90s, and using MS Paint for that. And so all the fun stuff that you guys currently do with Articulate, Captivate, new software like Guide Me from Edcast, and all the other good screen capture stuff that makes training software, and making simulations and screencasts and whatnot so easy. We had to do by hand back in the early days. So what takes you guys 6 minutes probably took us about 6 days to 6 weeks, depending upon how intense it was. So consider yourselves lucky and stop complaining about the software you have to use. Because back in my day, no, I can't be that guy. But anyways, good times. Yes, the Wayback Machine. Sam said he could not be here today, Ajay. So I believe Sam is also at the Realities 360 event as well with Marco. So my guess is that they are having some technical difficulties, maybe, or something is going on. Anthony, yes, we brought it up, and we may be talking about it more heavily if we don't get Marco to join us live from the Realities 360 events. We will see. I don't see any messages from him saying that he can or cannot be here. So we will see. We will have to wait and see. Song and dance. Yes, it is. We'll definitely song and dance. But you guys trust me. It'll work out. Study is currently, as we speak, while I'm sitting here, I'm certain that one of you is reaching out to Marco via Twitter or on Skype or something like that, asking him if he's going to be on the show or not, right? I just know it. This is how good you guys are. Yep, Josh, it's a great conversation. I wouldn't mind talking about Flash at all. We could have a bit of a historical conversation that might into a hysterical conversation about Flash, what it was, why we used it, how great it was back in the day, but that it is definitely time to put it to rest, and some of the problems that we may have all had with it. Definitely lots to talk about. Anthony, you don't get all cranky on us today. In your world, nothing is great. It was great for so many people. Flash was great. You could absolutely call it great. Don't get all curmudgeon-y on us so early in the morning. It was always crashing sites. Yes, but some of us didn't always use Flash for websites. Keep that in mind. Just because people used it poorly does not mean that it was a bad tool. Right, sorry. It's that early coffee and getting the brain run. But yes, so yes, it was a resource hog. Yes, it did crash sites at times. The Flash cache could be a nightmare. The action script in the early days sometimes did good stuff, sometimes it did not. I know that a lot of IT people considered it an extreme security risk, all of that good stuff. So it had its ups and its downs, just like all the software we use, people. All of the software we use has some pros and cons. So, Opinions matter, and it's important that we all respect each other's opinions about the work that we do and the software that we use. But it's also important to remember that nothing is perfect, and this is why we're here on TLDChat. Other than Marco, welcome. Let me get you in on the video. That's the other reason why we're here on TLDChat, is to hear from Marco Faccini from the Realities 360 event, coming to you live. And let's just keep our fingers crossed that we have some good bandwidth coming at us from the confines of a conference location in San Jose. You know, it's the heart of Silicon Valley, though. You would think there was some bandwidth that could make all this stuff work great. We'll see. Marco, how's it going? Oh, we lost him already. Well, this is just how the day's going to go.
No, I'm there. I'm just going to move location. Let's see.
Oh no, you're in your room. This could be bad.
Yeah, I'm in the room. So I've boxed clever because the connection downstairs is a little bit flaky in areas. It tends to go up and down. So you know, as you guys do in America, you box clever and you have the Wi-Fi hub right outside the room, so it's really strong bandwidth here.
Good, as long as you've got it there, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Josh, that's hilarious. Yeah, it's not so.
What's Josh said? Oh, the
Josh is in there too. Yep. Is so how many TLD chatters did you bump into at the event so far?
None.
Oh, come on. I thought Sam was there. No?
Oh, yes. But no, Sam came to see me, so he didn't come to the event.
So he just came to have drinks with you at the Fairmont bar.
Yeah. How's it you guys say in America with me? I'm an honorary American.
You're an honorary American, Marco. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what you've seen so far. First of all, let's catch people up. I mean, a lot of people maybe have seen you in the chat, maybe seen you as a guest on here before, but let's just do the quick basics, right? To let people know who you are and what you're working on and why you decided to come all the way across the pond to hang out at Realities 360.
Okay, so yeah, I'm Marco Faccini. Short story. E-learning pioneer of some 17 years. A couple of years ago, moved very much into virtual reality. I wear a number of hats. I'm an investor. I have investments in various companies. I have a couple of companies. I'm a non-exec director. And I tend to sort of concentrate in different assets of learning and try and sort of link them all so they all sort of have a link together. So a little bit like an ecosystem. So if you think professional services, a little bit like that, everybody potentially could dovetail with everybody else. So why am I in the US? I got elected to speak here on a subject, and the subject I chose was VR in the enterprise, what's worked to date and what has not worked to date.
Fantastic. And how did that session go for you?
So obviously I'm going to say it went great.
What was the feedback like? Let's go there, because I'm certain you had questions. I'm certain you had some Q&A going on. What were people really interested in? Like, what resonated? What made the eyes get wide or make them sit up in their chairs and go, I did not know that, or just, you know, feel, what were they most interested in? Yeah,
so so feedback was great. I mean, I had a packed house, which was great. And you know, I will do business from this. So already I'm doing business from this. So not that you come to these things for that. You know, I come here more from an educational perspective, but if you can pick up a bit of business along the way, that's always nice.
Yep.
My style was probably a lot more different than most people, but then I guess I can afford to get away with it because I'm a bit older and I'm coming at these sort of things from a different angle. So I tend to be a lot more contentious and a little bit more confrontational. And as I premise when I do my talks, I say to people, you know what, what I hope to achieve from these sessions is that I will answer some of your questions, but actually you will walk away from here with even more questions. So if I can achieve that, then my work here is done. Because I believe that certainly when you're a speaker, your job is not to give people the answers. Your job is to give people, get them to think about things they otherwise may not have thought of. So I think that leads nicely to your question there, which was what sort of resonated with people. And I think there were a number of things. One was the level of immersiveness. So, you know, we're still in this education phase, very much in this education phase.
Yep.
So it's the level of immersiveness. Is that like a Google Cardboard? What does that do? What is HTC Vive? What does that do? And then I think there's, as always happens in every conversation I'm having with people, cost. It's expensive. So I try and, for me, it's a myth. This is not expensive, it's relative. And so I try and explain how you are creating an experience, not a course. And that how that experience could potentially be used throughout the workflow. So unlike e-learning, you create it once, it's only ever used for that one thing. With VR, you create it for that one thing, but it could be used for recruitment, onboarding. It could be used in other sort of areas. You have the ability in VR to take in and out assets. So you're changing the experience on the fly. Hey, that would be great in e-learning if you could do that. But I think the main, so that's the sort of more around the practicalities side. But I think the point that probably resonated the most with people is this. And I've come away from this event, or I will come away from this event, even more convinced that I'm right in my thinking. And of course, I'm obviously going to say that because I'm always right. And don't you, Anthony Altieri or AJ, start saying in the chat that I'm never right.
The chat just blew up.
Yeah, it just blew up. But I said nothing. Yeah, right. He's just thinking it. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the vibes.
You're as clairvoyant as I was yesterday. I just know what's coming in the chat next.
But it's this. So a lot of the talk has been around, can it do this? Can it do that? How about this? How about that? I need to get this ROI. I need to get this business case. You know, all the things that we have always done. And what I've said to people is, we are very good in our industry at when new technologies come along, we try to put it in pre-existing boxes. So we go, here's this thing called VR. Let's try and put it in this box over here to make it fit like this. And what I've said to people is, clear your mind of everything you have learnt about learning and development, theory, models, because VR is totally different. It's unlike anything you have done before. And look at it with clearer, fresher eyes.
Yeah, so I just have to ask this, and I'm going to blow up the chat again probably, but tell me how long it took before somebody asked, because I'm certain they asked, is it SCORM compliant?
No, so thankfully,
saying that with a straight face.
Yeah. No, that's great. So thankfully, actually, nobody did, because if they had, whilst I do have a little hair here, I probably would have turned up this morning with no hair. If that question had come out, but thankfully they hadn't. But they are trying to put it into the little boxes.
Yeah.
And I was
right, like, yeah. How do we track it? How do we put it into the LMS? How do we? Does it work with Articulate Storyline? Does Adobe Captivate? Work in it, or all that stuff.
So I mean, what was interesting is there was a panel session yesterday, and I was involved, but more on the periphery side. So there was three people there, and the audience asked a question actually, no, it was Mark Britz of the e-learning guild. And he said to the panelists, is there anything unique? Do you think, is there anything unique about VR and AR? And the three panelists, and two of them were vendors and one was actually a practitioner. And the vendors said no. And the practitioner said, no, there was nothing unique. He said, although, and this was the encouragement bit, he said, although, you know, people shouldn't put it in preconceived boxes. So, of course, I'm aghast. I'm at the back of the room here and I am in shock, absolutely in shock.
Well, I'm trying to figure that out too. I'm like, what?
Yeah. So I couldn't contain myself.
So did anybody ask a clarifying question, a follow-up? Like, what do you mean by unique? Like what? No. I think he premised it is is these technologies, are they unique to anything else that we have done before? I think that was the qualifying question. So and everybody said no.
And they said no. So of course I jump up at the back of the room because I am fuming at this stage. And I said, I am sorry, but you are wrong. And I said, all I am going to say, all I'm going to throw out my take on this is, it is unique. And the reason it's unique is because everything you have done in learning and development until this date has been in 1D and 2D. And this is 3D. Yeah. This resembles real life. This resembles everyday life.
And so that's only one aspect that makes it unique, right? The fact
exactly
the fact that makes it the fact that it has a third dimension instead of just one is one of the main things that makes it unique. I don't, well, I don't even care if it's fake 3D, Anthony. It doesn't matter. It's the perception, it's the visual, it's what you see and how you can navigate through a space. I mean, I think, and Mike, you're right. Second Life was out there before. Absolutely. And if that was the question, if it was, is anything that we're seeing today unique, uniquely different from any of the other things like Second Life that's been out there before, then I would absolutely agree. No, it's not. And it's not unique. Yes, Coffee Tim. It's not unique in that I built virtual reality training for the semiconductor industry back in the mid 90s, right? And so, no, is it unique as in new? Absolutely not. It's been around forever. It went into a sleeper mode for a while, and people ignored it, and it was too expensive, and it was not ready for prime time, and all that kind of stuff. But now when you look at it in relation to typical e-learning, typical courses, typical typical solutions that we learn to create as instructional designers and whatnot, it is absolutely unique and different, and we have to think about how we use it, right? Our instructional design processes now completely change because we now have these different modalities. We have this, or maybe just call it one. It's a different modality that we have to pay attention to. I mean, how many times has anybody ever built a freely open environment in 2D where a user could go and just freely move around, right? The most we've ever had has been a back and a next button and maybe a table of contents where somebody could freely click through videos and digital contents. But yeah. I mean, that's weird. So I'd be curious to know what the next question was. I mean, or maybe this part, I interrupted you, and I apologize for that, but what was the follow-up after you jumped up and it made your comment? Like, then what happened?
So
did they say, thank you very much, Marco, moving on to the next question?
Well, I think there was a little element of that. And that's fine. And do you know what? That's fine. But I was, because we're all learning, and we've all got an opinion. But what it started to get me thinking, and I've known this, And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. That's why primarily I'm here in the US, because I'm on my education road trip. So, you know, I think, as I've said here before, you know, I've decided to take basically 12 months, as well as my sort of own work, to get out and try and educate. Excuse me. That's how passionate I am about it.
You're here for 12 months?
Not well, I'd like to be, but hey, that may soon change. So, if anyone's in TLDCChat lives in and around New York, and I know that's pretty damn close to Columbus, I'm flying back via New York, and I am looking at an office. So I may be spending.
How come you're not looking in Phoenix? Come on.
Well, yeah, I'd like to Phoenix, but here's an interesting one, and I'm gonna fess up. So actually, this ties in nicely. So in my presentation, at my front end, I have a slide which is I put up every single time I speak, which is called "Keeping It Real." So I like to keep it real, and my next piece is I look up and say I am in this session, I am going to fail out loud. So I am going to share with you some of the failures that I have experienced. So keeping true to my word, because I am a man of my word, I apologize to all of the community for the reason that I am late this morning, because I think it was Anthony said, is there Guinness in my cup? There is no Guinness in my cup, because I think I drank San Jose Dry of Guinness last night, and I actually got in at 5 o'clock this morning, and I have overslept. So I apologize for being a little
now that's keeping it real.
Yeah. So I woke up this morning. I didn't set my alarm because obviously I wasn't in a state to, and I looked at my watch and I went, my phone, and I went, shit, it's 1 minute past 8. And I get this little flash up saying, TLDC is going live. So
hey, perfect. At least we know the notifications are working.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, here's the question, right? This is what everybody told me when I went to Ireland. They said Guinness tastes better in Ireland, and I enjoy drinking Guinness in Phoenix and whatnot. Have you tasted a difference? Do you think did it taste worse to you last night, or different in any way?
Yeah, so do you know what? I don't think there's, and I've drunk, Guinness for many years, and working in an Irish company, it's the norm. I don't think there's any better or worse, if you like, because Guinness is nice. It's like lager. Lager's nice. It's you don't get a bad pint per se. But the difference, I think the slight difference is, if you want to put the difference, is in Ireland, it's a little bit more what I would call creamy.
Okay.
As because it travels, and it obviously travels well, but the fact because it travels and it's traveling for a long time, I think it leaves some of its creaminess. I sometimes find like it's a little bit more bitter in taste, but that doesn't make it bad, because
just changes it slightly. Yeah. I just don't think I have that well trained of a palate to be able to taste those subtle differences in and I thought it tasted great in Ireland, but I thought maybe that was just a psychological thing. But anyways,
and I suppose the key point is, after 3 pints, who cares anyway?
Right. Then you can drink Budweiser and it's all good. All right. Yeah. Sorry, Paul. We're off the rails. 30 minutes, but we're at that 30-minute mark. So, yeah, good enough time to take a break and help get us back on the rails. So, you guys come up with some great questions to ask Marco about the event and what's going on there, and anything you want to know about virtual reality, and we will talk about it. And we'll say 5 minutes, 10 minutes or so at the end, and maybe talk about the Flash stuff too, since Flash is now officially dead. Might be a good topic to to talk about. So I'll just take a few minutes here briefly to talk to everybody about something that Luis and I have been putting together for a while now, and talking about and contemplating how we're going to do TLD chat events, so TLD's 18, And we finally landed on what we think is a pretty decent way to help support it. I know a lot of you remember me asking everyone, if for donations, because Crowdcast has a very easy way for you to donate a couple bucks here and there, kind of like a tip jar or whatnot. But we appreciate, while we appreciate all of the donations that everybody sent, we've finally come up with what we think is a decent sort of, and we didn't set out to do this at all, but we just realized it was something that it would help make the ability for you to help support what we're doing here at TLDChat a lot easier. So we came up with a membership program, and but TLDChat will always be wide open and free. And so that was the one thing that we decided to stick with all the time. So if you check out the website, or if you head over to TLDC 18 and click on register, there's lots of different ways you can register for the event, but we also have the membership capability. So if you're a member, you can pay for the membership and a reduced fee of the event all in one shot. And we will be currently working on getting value add. We already have a lot of great value add for those of you that are members versus folks that are just hanging out with TLDChat for free. So all sorts of great stuff. So pay attention, keep an eye out for it. Take a look, and we would appreciate you all taking a look at that as well, and giving us your feedback and using it as an opportunity to do so. It ends up coming out to be about, if you just wanted to pay for your membership, it's about $15 a month, or you can pay the reduced annual fee, $150 annually, if you want to put that in and just pay for the whole year outright. And so $15, it turns out to be less than $1 an episode. So if you feel like you're getting $1's worth of value each day, 75 cents worth of value at least, I like to think we're worth at least that much each day, then we were thinking, $15 a month or $150 a year isn't too much to ask to help support what it is that we're doing here. So take a look, let us know what you think. I know there's some great questions. Can I add on the membership if I'm already registered? That is a great question, Tadia and Luis. We've done it the other direction. Like if you had the membership, can you pay with like a separate credit card? We had somebody ask us that to register for the event and still get the discount. We can do that. But if you're already registered for the event, I'm sure we can work something out. Yep, Luis already nailed it. So good deal. Just let us know. We'll take care of it. Yeah, again, it's a work in progress. Just because you can't figure out how to do something on the website, for example, just give us a call. We'll work it all out, or hit us up offline. But we appreciate everything that you guys do to support us in general, just in sharing the TLDChat and everything that we do. And you guys are great. We couldn't do TLDChat. It wouldn't exist without you guys. We're here to help support you and to make you better at what you do, move forward in your career, and help everybody be successful in this industry. And hopefully as a community, we can also influence the industry as a whole and help guide practitioners, also coach the youngins that are maybe in school wanting to get into this industry. Maybe we can be helpful in that space as well. So lots to talk about, lots to do, lots of value to be had. And again, appreciate everybody that hangs out with us and enjoys their time with us. So we've got Marco Faccini here from hanging out with us. He's from the UK, but currently in San Jose at the Realities 360 event. And he presented yesterday, or well, one of the days, I guess today's the last day, and but also has had a chance to hang out in the expo. Tell us a little bit about what you saw in that space. Was there anything unique? And while you're talking about that, I want to bring up some of what you're doing as well, some of the videos. So if I'm looking off, it's not because I ignore it, because I'm gonna try to set up one of the immerse videos that you've got. Where's the place to find those, by the way?
They're typically all on YouTube. So hang on,
that's where I'm headed. So, but do I go to the Immerse site or your site?
No, you won't find them from there. Let me see if I can find the links for you, and I can ping them through. Are you after the CAD one in particular?
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one that's sort of been resonating most with people because it's giving that low barrier entry. Well, we'll come back to that one. And there's actually a question that Cara has raised that I'd love to cover actually, because I've sort of not changed my views slightly, but it's probably informed or reinforced a little bit. I know I'm probably going to go a little bit against the not the community per se, but the industry current thinking around instructional design. So I'd like to cover that one off as well. But in answer to your question, I'm just sending through. Shall I put it in the chat?
Yeah, sure. Link? If you're okay with everybody, linking to it and seeing it and checking it out, absolutely. Yeah,
that's fine. So, so yeah, there were a number of vendors in there. So in the back of the hall, there's a number of vendors, about 8 to 10 vendors, I guess. It's the typical type thing. There are a number of e-learning companies there showcasing what they're doing in VR. And hey guys, they're doing nothing. It's smoke and mirrors, but that's okay. That's cool. Because I understand they're feeling a little bit fearful of their role in our industry. I'm being a little bit flippant there, of course, but they should be. I truly believe that e-learning companies need to, at some stage, be looking to pivot. And everything I have seen to date so far is they are not going to do that very well, and that's fine. And I think we've got some history. So I'm not saying that lightly. I think there is some history, and if we look back in probably 2010, 2009-10. And I don't know if it happened in the US, but it certainly was happening in Europe. Traditional e-learning companies started to lose business to web designers, web marketing type agencies. And we saw more and more sort of e-learning companies spring up out of this web design, website design, web marketing type arena. Because, and I think fundamentally, employers were saying, I want my content to look like my website. I want it to have this sort of landing page and that landing page. And e-learning companies were saying, no, we can't do that because it has to be in this format, which is obviously Storyline and Captivate. And the web guys looked up, and because they weren't using authoring tools, went, yeah, we can do that. We can do that in HTML and that sort of stuff. And we started to see these companies spring out. And I think the same will happen here, that employers will go to their e-learning vendors and say, can you do this and do that? And they go, oh, yeah, we can do 360 video. And do you know what? And they're doing a little of that, but it's not very good. And I think they'll be found out. And this is where the VR companies will come through to the fore, because it's what they do. Yeah. I've had so many conversations around Unity and Unity developers, and e-learning providers are not getting it. And I know now they will not pay the salaries that a Unity developer can command, because they're used to paying, and I'm giving sort of UK prices, they're used to paying e-learning developers in the UK about 35, 40K. And if you want a good Unity developer, you've got to start at 50K plus. And they're going to find that difficult to do. Yeah. So e-learning vendors wise, nothing really shone out. The Guild did a good bit, and I got to be honest with the Guild. Whatever you think or don't, I think the Guild have put together a good conference, about 200, 250 people, and it's the first conference I've been to in 12 months where, and this is what was the most positive bit, where the speakers have been typically practitioners. So they're people that are walking the walk, doing the talk. Yep. Most conferences I've been to is a little bit, oh, we've done this demo and we're looking at this and we're talking to so-and-so. No real practice in behind it. No, not that we've got too much data per se, but no real life experiences. This time we've got real life people doing it, walking the walk, so to speak. And I think that's only good for the delegates, because they've got, you know, these go-to people now saying, how do I do this, how do I do that, and they're talking from
Right.
an area of authenticity, and I believe trust. So
yeah, they've tried it. It's all changing so fast, right? I think it's hard. I think a lot of folks are just doing. Everyone's excited about it. I think everybody gets it and sees the value of it, but it's a wait and see, right? It's like everyone's trying to wait and see what's going to pop up and what doesn't. Because to your point, there are a lot of folks out there that I think are selling products that they think are cutting edge, but they don't know any of the other people that are out there doing some really cool things that are, you know, a little bit further along, or a little bit cheaper, or a little bit, you know, they're better designed, or a little bit more stable, or a little, you know, we're still on the front end of the curve, I guess, is where I'm trying to get at. But I don't want to go on too much. I did actually click over and notice that there are some questions in the Q&A. So let's just hit some of those up real fast as well. And so I'll click on this one from Josh. He says, Marco, what was the best demo session at the conference? Any action items we should take?
So the best demo, would he be talking about a speaker session, or actually a sort of vendor? I'm not.
I would say in general. I'll revise the question and just say, like, in general, like, what was the best? I mean, I know you've got the best technology. I've seen it. I know what yours does, but from from what you saw, other than yours, was there anything that made you go, whoa?
Yeah, so I was gonna say, and I didn't mean this in a flippant and an arrogant way, mine was the best tech there.
Okay, well, that's good then.
Because
go there.
You know, people don't even know that you can do multiplayer. So they had a keynote, and do you know what, they had the guy from Maxwell Planck from Facebook. It's now dead, but it was Facebook. Was it Facebook Stories?
The Stories, yeah. Or Microsoft? Was it Microsoft? Was he from?
No, it was Apple. No, I'm sorry, Facebook. Facebook Stories.
It was Facebook. Okay.
Yeah, Facebook Stories, and he did the keynote, and he was up there for an hour, and he was saying all these things. And a couple of people, Debbie Richards, for example, in the audience, I started getting these little messages from people going, "He's talking about your stuff. You got it cracked, dude." and he wasn't talking about our stuff per se. He was talking about what we're actually doing.
Yeah, so, and he was talking about it. He was probably talking about it in the future tense, right?
Yeah,
as in what's coming next. And you're like, no, it's not next. It's like right now.
So I just want to explain this, because this rocked the place. And last night, this rocked the whole auditorium. And I'll explain why, because I made an offer, and God forbid me. But I just want to explain this scenario here. This applies to anybody in the community, and I would do exactly the same. This is a CAD file. This is a Xerox photocopier, and they gave us a CAD file, and we uploaded the CAD file into our platform, and literally 20 seconds later, we had this experience, and we were able to put 2 people in VR. And what we've done with our platform is we've got a clever little algorithm at the back, in that when you put the CAD file in, it explodes the file, and it gives you this 3D experience. And in what we have here, what these 2 guys are doing, and I know there's no sound on this one, but you have a trainer with a colleague, and the trainer is showing the colleague how you put it together and how you take it apart. That's why you've got the pointers pointing at the nut, etc., putting it together. So what that basically means for the first time, you know, a big challenge we have with VR is the entry point, because, hey, there's a hardware cost. And whilst people say it's expensive, I would argue for corporate, it's not. For consumers, yes, it is. But corporate is not, because, hey, it's a capital expenditure. Wake up, people. Go to your CFO and say to them, I need $2,000 to buy a laptop and a headset. And he's going to go, absolutely fine with that. Great news. I can write that down over 3 years. So it's not expensive.
Yeah. So I saw, just for those of you that don't know, I last year, or was it last year, Marco, that you took me into the Immerse offices, or was it 2 years ago now? Wow.
No, it was last year.
It was last year. Okay. Yeah. So I was in London speaking at an event, the Learning Tech event in London, and Marco took me over to these offices, and they put me into this simulation with the headset. And I have to tell you, it is, the multiplayer aspect is absolutely phenomenal. You know, we've I think, you know, been in this space with me in the US too, right? Going through these simulations, because it's all browser based. That's the part that blew my mind. And you can put the headset on, and you can hold the what do they call them? The joysticks or whatever, the
Controllers.
wands, I guess.
Controllers.
Yeah, the controllers, and actually be able to you know, and walk around and look at these different parts, and pull the machine apart, and then put it back together and allow it to expand. And that was all well and good. But when you told me that now you guys are at the point where you can just take the CAD file and do the upload, instead of having to go through that super long, arduous building of all of the objects process, as long as it's already built in a CAD file from the engineering department, and you can just upload it, and boom, it turns it into this. That is a game changer, I believe.
Yeah. So AJ raises a good point in the chat, as I would expect AJ to do so. And he doesn't know this, but I said what I said to actually prompt a response from him. So AJ, I win. So thank you for responding. He's right. It's not as simple as I said, in that we still need to justify. But of course, you know, we can tend to do that by R&D and business case. But people, the point I'm trying to make is, you know, people look at it and go, oh, it's my L&D budget, and I've got to find $2,000 or $4,000 or whatever it might be, because I need a couple. People in L&D tend to forget there is a capital. You know, it could be a capital expenditure item, so it doesn't necessarily need to come out of your budget.
Yep.
AJ, you were baited. Yeah, absolutely. So what the offer that I made, and I'll make the same offer here. So we have an SDK. So for those that don't know, it's a software development kit. So basically, the offer that I made to the conference last night, and I'll do so here. If anyone works in an industry where they have a CAD file, I am happy to take that CAD file and put it into our platform and blow it apart. And then straight away, they've got a use case, a VR use case. Won't charge anybody, just do it. So if you've got the kit and you want to show somebody, you want to engage somebody in your business, because that's the tough bit. You know, there's a couple of things happening. We've got C-suite coming to professionals, and this resonated with me here at the conference. We've got C-suite coming to professionals going, hey, we should do this stuff. This looks really cool, and this will be great. So of course the L&D professionals going, okay, but you know, I don't want to just do it. You know, what's the reasons? What's the great use cases for doing this? So people are still trying to find their sweet spots in their use cases. And then we've got the other angle, which is where L&D have worked out the use cases, and they're now trying to engage the C-suite. And of course, whilst they could show the C-suite certain scenarios, it's always better to show your own, because obviously you'll get more buy-in. But there's still, you know, the challenge there is what I was saying earlier, is I don't think people are in L&D are engaging the C-suite in the right way, because they are applying the old way methodologies of trying to engage. And I've said it here before, you know, 9 times out of 10, I put a chief exec in VR and they want to buy. They get it. They get it. And I would argue people do get it when they're in it. And it's, as I've said, you know, you do not understand VR until you're in it. It's like the Matrix. And I truly believe that. And the best way to show people is to put them in it.
A lot of people only go off of, and this is mostly true for the executive folks too, I'm sorry to say, but a lot of other folks that have decision-making abilities, they just go off of what they've read in the latest Wall Street Journal article or whatever about, you know, about VR and where it's at, or they saw something on news about it or whatever. They're not, you know, they don't they don't have a lot of time to go spend and get inside a helmet and play a game, right? And to goof around inside of VR, because that's the way it's still perceived for a lot of folks. And until, you're right, I mean, I'm sold on it, right? But I even became a stronger believer when I actually got inside of it and did it. So I mean, it has an exceptionally strong powerful capability to really help you understand it, and when you're in it and when you're doing it. And I'll also just throw out there as well, we've talked this week a lot about neuroscience and the brain stuff, and in the past we've talked about games and gamification and all that kind of stuff. All of this stuff, everything that we talk about, comes together when we're talking about virtual reality. It's all applied, and this ability to learn deeply is so incredibly powerful. When Margie yesterday was talking about addressing all of your senses in training and learning, and how addressing as many of them as you can impacts learning and makes that learning deeper and stronger, it's definitely virtual reality. It comes closer than anything else to the sensation, the blocking out. This is the other thing that I think people forget. I think one of the bonuses of people complain a lot about the fact that you have to have a headset on and whatnot, but the bonus of it is that it helps you focus too, right? It keeps everything else out, and you are supremely focused on just that one thing that you're looking at, or that you're learning, or that you're engaged in. And so being in a situation that forces you to be that focused, because your monitor doesn't even do that, right? Your screen that you're looking at, you can still have peripheral vision. You can still be distracted by the tiniest little thing. But you put that headset on, there is nothing that's got you more focused than being in a space that you couldn't normally be in, but you're in it. It's fantastic. It's great.
Yeah. So just want to pick up on a couple of things there in the chat. So Adam raised, can it be used? I think he said, can it be used? We can use it for something other than forklift driving. Can we use it for business concepts? And I answered back there, but I think it's a great question, because it's where we are in our industry. Do you know what? I'm not going to stand up in front of people and say we can use it for this and we can use it for that, because I don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't want to stand up and say we can or we can't. I can share what we're doing, and I can share the use cases, and I can share what worked, what didn't. I think, do you know what? And this is what really excites me, and it's actually giving me a little bit of a tingle here. Forgive me. We can just go find it ourselves. But what I would say, but here's my caveat. If something works really fine in the real world, leave it in the real world. Couple of caveats to it though. If it's administratively or burdensome or very expensive or difficult to do, then okay, there might be a use case to bring it in. Yeah. But if it works, primarily if it works really well in the real world, leave it there. Look at those things that don't work so well. Also, look at those things that you do in your L&D strategy that maybe are not giving you the impact that you want to do. As we know, there is nothing worse than if we do what we've always done, we'll get what we've always got. And I've used previously before, customer service training. I think VR would be fantastic. And as I've said here, I see Asda, Walmart in the US, that's what they're doing. They've bought VR into every single supermarket, and they're rolling out a customer service program. And it will be great for that. Another question that came up, and I alluded to earlier, was Cara. Cara said what she's excited about, or what she's thinking about through VR. Will there be, and I think I've sort of understood this correctly, what sort of models would we need to understand? And I'm assuming she's taking it from an instructional design perspective. Mm-hmm. What sort of models would we need to understand to be able to create effective VR? And I alluded to it, I was coming from a place where I thought instructional design, not that it was dying, but it probably needed to adapt and change. And maybe it's just a sort of a bit of a name change type scenario. But I'm even more so convinced now that in VR, after this event, there is a clear opportunity for instructional design. It isn't about just creating an experience, because where's the business outcomes? Where's the learning outcomes, so to speak? But I think what's important is that you and I, Brent, we could go into an experience that's been created, and we would have a different experience than, say, Mike and Anthony. You notice there I didn't say Anthony and AJ, obviously, but they would have, there would be different reactions. We would get different data points, and they would do things slightly different. So we've got to sort of almost build that scaffolding, if you like. I think that's where instructional design comes in. What's that scaffolding? What's that framework that we're making sure people achieve what we want them to achieve?
Yeah, there still has to be a goal, right, everybody? I mean, and it is, at the end of the day, it is still a tool, like all of our other tools, and you can't just like the printer that we just showed you in that video, right? You could import that CAD file, turn it into a 3D thing, and expand all those parts. Okay, great. Now what? Like in and of itself, that's pretty decent and pretty cool to look at. But instructionally, if you don't have a reason why it's there, or if you don't have a reason or something to do, right, or a performance, something to perform and act, what do I have to do? Do I put it back together? Am I supposed to replace a part? Am I, why is this thing here and why am I there? All of that stuff still has to be answered, and that's going to require a designer. And yeah, I mean, I think to a certain extent, and I think Greg mentioned it, right? I don't know if you're tweaking Addy, but I think you're tweaking the, maybe making slight adjustments to how you would just design an experience just in a 3D space, right?
So if I could jump in there, I've got a question. I'm going to direct this to you. It's just come to my mind. I've never asked this one. So in your real life, Brent, in everything that you do, in real life, your personal real life, do you apply elements of Addy?
Right, no.
So you see what we've done here? You see what we've done here? People straight away. So whilst Cara said, does that mean we can get rid of Addy? People are saying tweaks. And I don't have the answer. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
Do we look at this, to my point earlier, and go, let's not come into this with Addy, right? Let's just come into this with a clear mind.
Yeah.
And let's experience, as instructional designers, let's go in here and let's experience. And do you know what? Maybe it's something totally different.
Yeah.
And it's not Addy. Maybe it's human nature, human life. And I don't know. I don't know. I'm just posing it out there.
Yeah, a lot of it too is just in certain instances. So I mean, there's a doing learning business ideas and the metaphor stuff that was mentioned earlier that Adam brought up, and the discussion was going on. And you're right. I just want to make sure I comment on this because we're hitting the 9 o'clock hour. It is. I think there are. What we can do is all left up to our creativity. If we look towards Addy, or if we look towards any other instructional model, or if we look towards anything to try to force that square peg in the round hole, I think we're going to lose, or at the very least move more slowly. I think we just need to go at it with open mind and just practice. We need to be creative. We need to look at what virtual reality in a space like this, what it affords us, and just try. Like how would you teach somebody, business skills inside a virtual space? I don't know. Do you have somebody build a business? Is it like Sim City in 3D and you're in the city and you get to go in and interact with people? I mean, I don't know what that looks like, but somebody somewhere along the line is going to make that and going to use virtual reality for that. And I can almost guarantee you that it will not be an instructional designer. It will not be somebody from our industry. It will be a game developer or somebody else will build something, and then we look at it and go, ooh, can we buy that for our company? Our company needs that, or can we use that for corporate training? It's just always how it works with the new tech. We always seem to be the last ones to get in and apply it, you know, and that's not bad. That's good, right? We watch what other people do. We wait until we see what could be effective in our businesses, and then we pay the money to apply it when we know it's effective, and that's fine. But you know, that's something we just need to all look at. Hey, it's 9 o'clock, and I've gone way over. And I would normally say in this conversation on a video Friday, I would say let's go for 15, 20 minutes over, because this is always a good talk. But I actually 9 o'clock thing I have to, which I am the rest of you do too. And I know, Mark, you need to get some sleep. So
no, I need to get to the conference.
Oh, get to the conference.
I'm good on the sleep.
Yeah, get there too. But anyway, so I'm going to wrap this up really fast. I wanted to end early, but and no flash conversation. Maybe we'll save that for Monday. So sorry, everybody. Marco, how can everybody find you?
Yeah, so then get me on the Twitter at Marco Bull. That's the best way.
Fantastic. Yeah, everybody, reach out to Marco if you want to know more about everything he's doing with virtual reality. He's taken it further and immersed himself more deeply than most people I know, especially coming from this L&D, the learning industry. So if you want to know anything about this, definitely reach out to him. Marco, I will say adios for now, and we'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
All righty, and everybody else, thank you so much for hanging out with us today on TLDChat on VR Friday. This will not be a regular thing, but maybe it will be. But sometimes it's VR Friday, sometimes it's Video Friday. But we like them both either way. Thanks again, everybody, so much for hanging out with us. Hit up the website and check out the membership. And, you know, please consider all the value and all of the extra value that's that you're getting from TLDC, and consider being a member. You will get a discount for the event for sure. So if you are looking at registering for the event, you know, why not just be a member too? And so you know, get it all done in one shot. Or you can also just pay the $15 a month as well. Remember, it's less than $1 a day, 75 cents ish per episode. So if you feel like you got 75 cents worth of value, then you know, hitting up the membership is a great way to say thanks, as well as sharing everything that we're doing here, all of the links and the event with all of your friends and colleagues and peers. I saw a lot of great new faces in TLDChat today. Thanks all of you that are new for hanging out with us today and checking it out. I hope you enjoyed it. Let us know what you thought. Reach out to us, and it'll be fantastic. Hey, listen, let's do this again. Everybody have a great weekend, and we will see you on Monday.
This is the name of the show. Okay, good. Welcome to TLDC. Training, learning, development, chat, going like you know where it's at. It's training, learning, development, chat, video Friday, and you know what that means. TLDC, TLDC, TLDC.